Hello friends, I'm Colonel Chehel, and in this video, we will look at certain tips for the service entry candidates. Very recently, a service entry candidate asked me a doubt that in case during the course of the SSB interview, if he's asked this question that, you're already serving as a Jawan in the army, so why do you want to become an officer? Now, in case this question is asked to you, the methodology or the approach to this question should be that in your mind you should have 4 pointers. The first is that you could highlight that all of us, all humans, they aspire to do better in life. So it is natural for you to aspire and become better in life, and therefore it is in the course of natural progression that you aspire to become an officer, because that is going to be a very big leap for you. So you could highlight that how becoming an officer is a major leap or progression in my life, and therefore I aspire to become an officer. The second point is that you need to highlight how you deserve it. So you could bring out that, sir, in my unit, my senior officers, my company commander, my commanding officer, they really feel that I have the potential, and they keep encouraging me, and they keep putting me at certain places and appointments where I could shoulder higher responsibilities and I could display that I'm capable of doing it. And even I feel that I will be able to shoulder higher responsibilities, and therefore I aspire to be an officer. So that is the second point. The third point could be that you need to highlight that after having acquired all the skills and the basic discipline which Army teaches you, how that you are already tailor-made to adapt. Since you already adapted to this life, it will be easier for you to contribute better vis-a-vis a civilian. So since you already lived through this life, you know the basic structure, you know the fundamentals, the ethos. So since you're already aware of all of that, you will be able to contribute to the forces in a better manner because of your skills and because of whatever training has been imparted to you as a Jawan. And the last point that you could highlight is that naturally it is going to be a source of immense pride for you, for your family, for your friends, and therefore you aspire to be an officer. So you could kind of plan your answer under these 4 headings, and you can make your own answer, expand these points and make your own answer for yourself. Now I'll also highlight a few other routine doubts that you all have as service entry candidates. One is that sometimes you wonder that what kind of questions could be asked with respect to the service life. So as far as the service life goes, you will be majorly asked about your own trade. Whatever trade that you will have to be very sure of the ins and outs of that. You can acquire more knowledge about that, the documentation part or the upskilling part of that, what is going to happen with respect to the future, उसके बारे में futuristic trends क्या हैं, जो भी आपका trade है. So you must acquire enough knowledge about your trade, and you should be able to answer any kind of questions about it. Secondly, he would want to know your knowledge about unit administration. Because since you are aspiring to be an officer, तो unit administration के अंदर जो भी काम होते हैं उसके बारे में आपको basic knowledge होनी चाहिए. So he may ask you to organize a BPT or a bada khana or a firing competition, any such thing, any such activity that happens in the unit, you may be asked to organize that. And you should be aware of the basic fundamentals of what needs to be kept in mind, what are the major things to be kept in mind. You should highlight that. Then you will be asked naturally about your unit history, the ethos of your unit, what does it stand for, and also about your own service life in terms of कौन से courses करे आपने, किस तरह की appointments पे थे आप unit के अंदर while you were serving, any challenges that you faced, etc., etc. So about the unit life, these kind of questions will be asked. Then sometimes certain so-called trick questions are asked in terms of, tell me 3 negative qualities of your commanding officer, or if you were the commanding officer, how would you make certain improvements in your unit? What do you think you want to change, etc., etc. So whenever such questions are asked, you should always begin on a positive note to highlight how the unit is doing very well. So start with that. and then you could highlight certain areas that may need improvement. So see, if you asked about the CO, you should start by saying, sir, that my CO is my role model. I am very, very proud of the way he is leading the unit. So everybody in the unit is very happy with him. However, karke, and then you can highlight certain areas which can make his command even better, because you see, every commanding officer has his own KRAs, own key result areas. किसी का ध्यान ज़्यादा ट्रेनिंग की तरफ होगा, किसी का इक्विपमेंट मैनेजमेंट की तरफ ज़्यादा होगा, किसी का स्पोर्ट्स की तरफ होगा. So each commanding officer has his own KRAs, although they are looking after everything, but based on their own personality, they may have certain areas on which they emphasize more, and because of which certain areas may get left out. So you could highlight some such area, for example, that if the course results are not so good, or maybe the documentation requires to be improved, so you could highlight how that you could give a little more focus to that. And then whenever that you highlighting some areas that could be improved, you should never sound as if you're complaining about it. You should always highlight it as if it is something that was difficult to be looked at, but however, if we do these 1, 2, 3 things, we'll be able to improve that a little bit also. तो हमेशा उसको ऐसे आपको कवर करना है जैसे कि आप हाईलाइटिंग के भी वो मजबूरी है कि वो ऐसे होता है यूनिट में मैन पावर की, because of too much of administrative duties, there is a shortage of manpower, and because of which the candidates are not usually spared for pre-courses, because of which the course results sometimes suffer. So I think we need to take out some spare time or extra time for people who are going on courses, and they could be given better pre-courses so that they do better and they make the unit proud. So ऐसे करके you have to say why it is not happening and why it could be, or how it could be done. तो इस तरह से you have to tackle these questions. Then I will give a few points for each of the 5 days so that the common mistakes that you all make, you're careful about that. Now, as far as the screening test goes, a lot of candidates, because they have their expression not so good, they are unable to write stories appropriately. As also एक tendency है service entry candidates में that they tend to copy stories from here and there. They feel कि भाई ये एक तरह का story writing test है. They don't realize that this is an evaluation of their projected personality. तो वो जो भी थीम बना रहे हैं दैट शोज़ देयर माइंड सेट, वो जो भी स्टोरी बना रहे हैं दैट शोज़ दी, उसमें जो भी आपने करेक्टर्स क्रिएट करें, दे आर बेसिकली हाईलाइटिंग योर ओन पर्सनैलिटी एट्रीब्यूट्स. सो देयरफॉर प्लीज़ मेक स्टोरीज वेयर यू सी योरसेल्फ इन दैट फ्रेम. हमेशा अपने आप को स्क्रीन के अंदर देखो और बोलो, अगर मैं ये वाला इंसान हूँ, इस सेटिंग में अगर मैं हूँ तो मैं कौन हूँ, मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ. So unless you are able to relate with the main character, unless you are able to relate with the work of your main character, unless you are very familiar with the theme that you have created, you will never be able to write a realistic story. So this is one common mistake which service entry candidates make, that they tend to just write stories from here and there, copy them, and these stories are naturally very preconceived and very coached. Please don't do that. Secondly, there is an issue with your expression, so you're unable to convey your mind with clarity even on paper and even while speaking. So therefore you must every day do some creative writing. रोज़ 2-3 पेज लिखो और अपने ड्राफ्ट को काट पीट के इम्प्रूव करो. सी कि भाई ये सेंटेंस को मैं अगर ऐसे लिखता तो बेटर होता, ये वर्ड की बजाय ये वर्ड यूज़ करता तो दे वुड हैव बीन ग्रेटर क्लैरिटी. आई थिंक ये मैंने फालतू की लाइन लिखी है, ये मैं काट सकता हूँ. तो अपने ही ड्राफ्ट को इम्प्रूव करो. So the more you write, the better will be the flow of thoughts from your mind. So improve the flow of thoughts. There should be absolutely one sentence should melt into the second one. It should not be a disjointed story. So work on your writing skills, and also every day do some mock lectures or have a couple of friends who are also going for SSB, उनके साथ बैठ के रोज़ कुछ ना कुछ डिस्कस करो, because you have hesitation in speaking, and because of that, although you are aware of what you want to say, but you are unable to convey it because of the difficulty in spoken English. So please work on spoken English, but also at the same time do not feel too much of an hesitation like that, because if you feel that कोई चीज़ आप हिंदी में बेटर बता पाओगे तो उतना पार्ट हिंदी में बोलो, अगेन स्विच बैक टू इंग्लिश. सो यू कैन कीप स्विचिंग फ्रॉम इंग्लिश टू हिंदी एंड हिंदी टू इंग्लिश, बट बिकॉज द लैंग्वेज इज इंपॉर्टेंट, बट इट इज़ नॉट मोर इंपॉर्टेंट देन द thought process or the idea which is conveyed by you. If that is of a higher order, naturally it will be better. So this is the second area that you need to work on. The third is that during the discussion, wherever that whosoever trains you, they tell you कि भाई जितना बोलोगे उतने तुम्हारे chances ज़्यादा हैं recommend होने के, which is not so true. The more you speak and the more you add to the chaos, you're only irritating other people and also the assessors. So your intention should be to speak in short spurts. Decide to speak, and when you speak, make sure that you make such a relevant point that the assessors feel कि भाई हाँ इस बंदे में spark लग रहा है, इसको हम ले सकते हैं. So idea is not to speak a lot, idea is to speak sense and speak at a time when you'll be heard. What is more important than speaking is that you're being heard by other people. As also, the larger aim is that you should be helping the group to compile the story. वो invariably लोग नहीं करते हैं, वो सोचते हैं कि मेरे को अपनी story 100 बार दोहराना है. So please don't do that. You should be helping the group during the discussion phase to come to a commonly agreed group story, rather than insisting कि जो मैंने story लिखी है उसी को मानो. So this is the major issue which the service entry candidates have, that they do not listen to each other. So it is important to listen to everyone when these stories are being narrated, so that during the discussion you are able to help the group to come to a consensus faster. Then I'll quickly talk about the psych part. So in the psych part again, the responses that you give in the stories is similarly very preconceived and coached, because you have memorized some stories and you do not understand the fundamentals of story writing. So please work on that. Also, certain SRTs that you have, which are based on the service life, usme what are they trying to see is, firstly naturally your character, and secondly also they want to see whether you are aware of the the administrative things, the way things happen in the unit. Right, the unit का जो दस्तूर है वो आपको पता है कि नहीं. For example, if there is an SRT to say that that you are the JQM quartermaster, and the CO has sent his Sahayak to you and asked you to hand over 5 blankets to him. So the Sahayak has come and told you, give me 5 blankets. Now unless you know about unit administration, you will not answer this. अगर आपको पता है कि भाई मैं लोन इशू वाउचर पे उसको ब्लैंकेट्स दे सकता हूँ और उस सहायक से सिग्नेचर ले सकता हूँ, एंड आई कैन देन इन्फॉर्म द क्वार्टर मास्टर एंड टेल हिम दैट दिस इज व्हाट वाज द रिक्वायरमेंट एंड दिस इज व्हाट आई हैव डन, देयर इज नथिंग रॉन्ग विद दैट. सो यू इशूइंग इट आउट ऑन लोन टू समबडी. So you must, unless you know the unit administration, you will not be able to answer such questions. Similarly, आप कंपनी हवलदार मेजर हो, आपको सीनियर जेसीओ ने बोला कि सुबह 6 बजे पीटी होगी, और शाम को जाते टाइम कंपनी कमांडर साहब बोल गए कि भाई कल सुबह बीपीटी होगी 6 बजे. सो नाउ व्हाट आर यू गोइंग टू डू? सो नेचुरली देयर आर 2 orders to be abided by at the same time. So there is a conflict in orders. So unless you have the basic intelligence to know कि भाई फौज में we do not bypass channel, we don't say कि भाई जो सीनियर ऑफिसर है उसका बात मानेंगे, और we don't say कि भाई सीनियर ऑफिसर की बात जो इमीडिएट सीनियर है उसकी बात सुन लेते हैं. सो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि भाई क्या करना चाहिए कि भाई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ना हो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में. सो आइडियली यू विल अप्रोच योर इमीडिएट सुपीरियर, द सीनियर जेसीओ, एंड टेल देम that there is some confusion about orders and he can take a clarification, and then you will act accordingly. So it is all about basic common sense and your basic knowledge about unit administration that will be seen through these SRTs. तो उसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, बस अपना common sense लगाना है and you will be able to do a good job over there. And last of all, The GTO series, of course, since you all are physically fit, so please don't behave as if you know it all and you can tend to get overbearing and dominating in the group. Please don't do that. Your aim is to carry the team along with you to the finish line. So the aim is to be very interactive with everyone. The GTO is not just looking at finish line पहुंचे कि नहीं पहुंचे, he's looking at how that is happening. तो आप क्या बोल रहे हो दूसरों के साथ, कैसे बोल रहे हो, दूसरे आपकी बात कैसे रिसीव कर रहे हैं, how practical are you, how sensitive are you to other people, are you a group minded person. So ये चीज़ों का ध्यान रखना है rather than just thinking कि मेरे को ये टास्क पूरा करना है. So the task has to be done along with the other members of the team. So you have to appear like a group minded person all along. So these are certain tips that you may find useful during your SSB. So all the very best to all the service entry candidates. If you still have any doubts, you're most welcome to get in touch with me. God bless you all. All the best. See you soon again.